Hello, it's Deb with DebV. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. Our project today is going to be a Quack Attack key wrist strap. Something that you can put your boat keychain on. My son is a duck hunter, and this was his idea, as a matter of fact. Stood over my shoulder while I designed it. And I've decided to turn it into a video. At the time, I had to rubberize some orange fabric because this had not come in. This is very lightweight. Didn't realize it was going to be this thin. I put Pellon SF101 on the back side to stiffen it up a little, and it did cause it to draw in. So you'll see that mine don't meet. I used a ruler to measure to make sure that it was going to be the 1 inch wide. To find the width you'll need, if you've got a key fob, what do they call these? I can't even think of what it's called. If I can think of it, I will, put a banner across it or something. But what I do is I take the width, because these were 1 inch and I bought these a long time ago, and now they all seem to be 1 1/4. I don't know why they went bigger. I would prefer 3/4 of an inch, to be honest, but times 4. So the width times 4 if you are doing a double fold. So if you are using vinyl or leather and you're going to have raw edges, then some people will have it folded on one side, then it would just be double. Or cut 2 strips the width and adhere them together evenly. I would do it wider and then trim to the width. As you can see, it just, when I pressed it, it is off just slightly. That's fine. That's going to be my inside. So I've got this all folded. I did half, and then I measured with a ruler because it had drawn up and it was going to be too small. Then I took my ruler and I went down the center with a chalk pencil. I used the sew line. For me, it works great. Over the decades, I have tried so many things, and now I am finally finding things that won't dry up or crumble or leave too big a line. This leaves a nice fine line and really is chalk, so the remainder I can wipe off. I figured it's going to go in actually more than the 1/4 inch, but I measured up 1/4 of an inch on each end because I cut it 12.5 inches long. That's the length of my ruler, so that's what I make my wrist straps. It's just easier to be more accurate that way. So to make it easier on the measuring part for center, I did a half. And you can just meet up the middles and mark your halfway point, and then you want to match those up. But I knew that part of that was going to be inside, and I still wanted it centered, so I marked 1/4 of an inch to have it as close to center as possible. It will be off a little because it's more like 3/8 of an inch you lose, but I measured 1/4. Okay, sue me. I put a line for the center on there, and then 1/4 inch met them up, marked. That is what I'm shooting for. I will do my embroidery pattern with it centered here, and then turn it and center it here. And it will say Quack Attack with a tiny little outline of a rubber duck. That's what he wanted. That's what I created. And it will be a free download from a link in the description. You may use it on all the key chains that you want and sell them, give them away, whatever, but please don't sell or share my design. That's all I ask. But what we'll need is bright orange if it's for duck hunting, because you do that in the swamp. If you drop your keys, you want something that's going to show up. And I had considered glow in the dark, but you know what? It's not going to necessarily be dark. You can't shoot before daybreak, so, you know. Just saying. You want something that'll show up in the muck. So we went with a neon orange. I've got my little tag that I put in at the top. This. Oh, and pliers to clamp it with. Some people use their rivet press. There are plates you can purchase. I didn't. I've got a hand clamp, and I actually go at each side. If you use pliers, pat it with fabric just so you don't mar it, and go a little at a time each side, just so it doesn't get kinks. Metal will soften with a little tension, but if you try to force it at once, it's going to be more brittle, and then you'll end up with kinks or bends that are unattractive. If you're going to be selling it, you don't want to go unattractive. So let's get this into the embroidery machine and see how that's done.
Okay, so I need to meet up with that spot right there in the center. I gave my X. The words are going to run towards the key. So let's get this moved over. So I can see the crosshairs in it. If it's not exact, it's not going to ruin the keychain as far as the center lengthwise. But I really feel it's important to get it on that line, or at least as close as my eyes are able to do. That actually looks perfect. So, hit the embroidery button on my screen. It actually shows it as 3 colors in my pattern. That was because I wanted it to stop and cut threads at certain points. So I set it up as 3 things. The quack, then the attack, and then the duck. On my machine, it says it takes only 4 minutes. That's stitch time. And now we're going to stitch it out. Just need, oh, threaded. You need to make sure it's threaded. I misspoke. I said the words were separated. It's not the words that are separated. The duck is separated, and it has, I believe, an eye in it. And that is a separate color so that it would cut. And that is our design on one side finished. Now, you can set it up for both of them in the same hoop. I'm out of tearaway, so this is actually a double layer of mesh that I actually ordered it by accident. But I will trim. It's glued well. This time I made sure I put plenty of 505 on there because I cannot get tape in that small area. So I'll trim around that, and I will glue it down to here, and be back. If you have a small roller blade, I was able to get that up closer, not right on it, and it was just easier. I folded the fabric out of the way and rolled along it. But I've got this all set up, so now we need to get that moved to the correct location. Let me get that put down so I can see. And now we're all set to do the sewing part.
I'm going to start on this end so that I know I've got my tag sewn in properly, and I'm using the Elna 720 Pro with an AccuFeed narrow foot. Extra off. Then we're going to go to 1/8 of an inch. So when I get to this edge, I'm going to adjust my needle over so that my feet are still catching the fabric. I have extended my stitch to a 3. Oh, see, this is what happens when you have slippery fabric and you don't catch it with both teeth. It'll spin a little. Always best to turn the stitching speed down. I usually have better control of my foot, but we all make mistakes once in a while. So, quack attack, and my little duck. Now we just need to get that hardware on. Now, what I do is just slightly start it because I have a hard time with my hands wide open around the fabric. So I will get it started just a bit. I'm going to trim up this uneven end just slightly. I just want to make sure it's all in there good. I have my Fabric Fusion. Love this stuff. Just takes forever to come down. It's almost gone, I think. Yeah, it's getting close to being gone. I've made them without putting any glue in there. I just don't want to take a chance of this unraveling. If you've squeezed it like me, you want to make sure that you can still get them in there. I've got it all the way to the end. And now it's time to squeeze. If you're using regular pliers, make sure you put fabric or something between the pliers and the metal, or it will leave marks. And that's it. It's good and strong. Like I said, I put the glue in there not for holding power, but for raveling power. I don't want it to unravel. Not any at all. I don't want any threads sticking out later, so I put a little glue on the end. And that is my Quack attack. Oh, I see a thread. Let's just tilt it at the right angle. Sometimes you can see them. My son already told me, don't worry, it won't go to waste. He's going to use this one. So now he has two. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.